We've got a lot to cover. Today's session is on securing your security posture with AI-powered protection. Advanced security for Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Today's the 16th of June. Session's about 90 minutes in duration. So my name is Ben Opit. My name is Benno, as they call me. I am your host today with a few other guests, which I'll introduce shortly. I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem for about 20 years, and I help organizations transform securely and strategically through the Microsoft ecosystem. I specialize in aligning business outcomes with technology investments, leveraging the entire Microsoft IQ. We have a new name for it now, which helps you reduce your risk and improve your productivity. I also have Phil Meyer with me, and Phil will come off screen and have a wave. Also known as Philmy, is a technology strategist and a former Microsoft leader with over 4 decades in IT.
Yes. Wow.
He helps organizations leverage Microsoft technology to accelerate transformation, and he has expertise in productivity solutions, cloud migrations, AI, and security, and everything else in between. We'll be diving into practical insights that can guide us on how we can unlock growth. And Amit, I have here as well. Amit, he is the head of our delivery for Exigo Tech, where he helps ensure our customers are on their way to reducing cyber risk, strengthen resilience, and deliver secure outcomes driven by technological solutions. Amit specializes in cybersecurity strategy, Microsoft security architecture, risk reduction, and service delivery excellence. He also leads our Deploy IQ solutions, which we'll talk to about shortly, helping ensure ISO 27001 Essential 8 and Zero Trust can be deployed properly. And John's here somewhere as well. He's with us from Telstra. He's an Azure Partner Domain Specialist. Hello. John is an experienced and adaptable Microsoft sales specialist with a strong background in pre-sales, solutions architecture, and implementation of IT across the diverse range of industries. John has developed deep expertise in solving business problems using the Microsoft ecosystems, particularly across modern work and Azure. John, I'm going to click on the next slide for you so you don't have to worry about control. If you could do an acknowledgement of the country, please.
Thanks, Ben. Look, at Telstra, we recognise and acknowledge the existing, original and ancient connection Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have to the lands and waterways across the Australian continent. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us today. Very welcome. Thanks, Ben. So look, thanks everyone for joining us today, and thanks again for the invite. Wish I could be with you guys in the office and sharing the love, but today we just want to start off with a bit of an overview of why we think you should partner with Telstra and Exigo Tech, and of course Microsoft, a very important ingredient as part of the services and capability we're talking about today. But as a customer, you really get great benefits from working with us through the Telstra lens. You don't have to stitch multiple service providers together. Telstra brings the local expertise and accountability together basically to help customers move faster with less friction. Telstra and Microsoft have been in partnership for a very long time. Let's think about that for a minute. You might recall Microsoft entrusted Telstra with the first launch of BPOS in Australia about 15 years ago. Obviously, that's now called Microsoft 365. And around 10 years ago, Telstra became one of the first Microsoft cloud providers in Australia, where we designed a number of products together for the Australian market with Microsoft that I'm sure some of you on this call have leveraged and benefited from. The way we come together with Microsoft and our partners, like Exigo Tech, is firstly Microsoft is an important partner of ours who delivers world-leading cloud security, data, and AI platforms. Telstra wraps this with trusted connectivity, mobility services, commercial advantages, and other products. And finally, Exigo Tech, as a Telstra and Microsoft partner, provide the local support, deep skill, managed services, and practical experience and knowledge in Microsoft solutions. We're able to bring that all together under the one Telstra umbrella. So how do we present this to you? It's really through our platform called Telstra Apps Marketplace, which is a web-based portal. You or your partner, like Exigo Tech, can buy an Azure subscription, a Microsoft 365 plan, server and application subscriptions for your on-prem and cloud infrastructure, all for the same price, but typically lower prices than buying directly from Microsoft. So it's really that whole commercial advantage you get from dealing with us. But importantly, we're not here just for selling a product and running off. We would prefer a much more meaningful relationship. As you can see from our spectrum of engagement, we really have the ability to develop on that relationship and I guess together collectively deliver real business and address real business problems, which is a much more interesting relationship and partnership. So this might include product deployment, capability deployment, adoption support, optimization of existing environments, whether that's across 365 licensing or Azure optimization. And through Telstra, when you acquire your licenses, you actually obtain Microsoft Premier support via Telstra for no added cost. So it's something that can reduce your support budget, and providing access to services, resources, and funding programs like that being presented today, and we'll talk more to that at the end of the pack. But underpinning all of this, we're talking about security. Just remember, not all cloud solution providers are the same, especially from a security point of view. So, Telstra, if you think about it, we have a regulatory requirements. We support defence and government customers. Therefore, we operate at an exceptionally high security standard. So just consider for a minute, if a cloud service provider that you're currently working with is breached, your customer data is at risk. So it's important not to be complacent about how you buy your license from a Microsoft point of view. So don't underestimate the trust that you have in that reseller relationship and the importance of that from a security. So Microsoft from Telstra is a partnership. So it's important to remember security starts at how you buy, not just designing the solution. So just to finish, there's several exclusive offers available from Telstra and through Exigo Tech today, like the current business premium plans as well. I'll share later on, and this will help strengthen your posture in your organisation, especially if you're coming from that business basic and standard. And enterprise products are also available from that E3, E5, E7 lens. And they're exclusive offers only through Telstra, so you can only get those from a Telstra portal point of view. And of course, as the Azure guy, I'm also interested in how you plan to modernize your systems, migrate to cloud, or further embrace the cloud, and how we can support that endeavor and that strategy from a Telstra and Microsoft financial assistance. And that's really what we're here for, is guide you through those funding and financial programs. So let's start the conversation and get into the discussion today. Thanks, Ben, on the show,
of course. Thanks, John, and thanks for the support. We very much appreciate the efforts Telstra do and Phil to support programs like this. We want to do lots more of them. So, all right, we have a lot to cover. And as a quick overview, I'm going to start off with a bit of an introduction as a bit of kickoff. We'll talk about how AI can be used for good and evil. I'll talk a little bit about Project Glasswing, which is really important around the Mythos and Anthropic workloads. I'll then quickly as possible hand over to Phil, who will deep dive into the Microsoft security stack, including how Gen AI impacts security and how M365 can strengthen your security posture. We actually get to see a bit of security in action as well, and how Microsoft Purview can assist. And then Phil will hand it over to Ahmed, who will give us a bit of an overview on how Exigo Tech has leaped forward into the world of security and the lessons we've learned in the field. Just quickly about Exigo Tech, established in 2015, so we're 10 years in business now. We've got about 160 professionals across Australia, New Zealand, and the rest of APAC. We're 100% focused on Microsoft. We have transitioned from what's called the traditional MSP to what we are now calling Managed Intelligence Provider, or MIP. We are a Telstra Gold partner, and we have received various awards. We also won Telstra Award for NAS for 2025 last year, which is a nice honour to receive. Now, we also partner with leading solutions in the market like Essential, Sophos, KnowBe4, ThreatLocker. These are all top-tier solutions, so our security posture is very important to us. We are also ISO 27001, and Ahmed has shared with me that we're working towards 42001, which means we've pretty much ticked everything we can possibly tick. All right, enough about us. Let's jump into it. What is the biggest threats to your business? Let me introduce you to a couple of them right now. Now, I'm not sure if you heard about this ransomware group, but it's probably the most vicious group in the world. Scattered Lapsus Hunters, an alliance of three prominent hacking groups: Scatter Spider, Lapsus, and Shiny Hunters. This group is said to be behind more than 40 major corporate breaches, but I actually think it's more like over 140 now. This combined cybercriminal alliance was formed in mid-2025, and this group has been attacking businesses like Qantas, Telstra, Disney, IKEA. We just heard about PeopleSoft and Canvas, correct? So very prolific team indeed. Now, this group is mostly young teenagers who test and boast about their prowess, using the latest tricks and tactics to infiltrate your business, and mostly for bragging rights. There's financial wins there for sure, but I'm sure they're all high-fiving each other as they find a new breach. Now, I don't know if you remember, but last year there was a British transport company. They were called K&P Logistics. They had been around since 1865, shut down permanently after a breach. Just completely left. 700 could not retrieve themselves. 700 people unemployed. These actors are out there. And there are Australian legal requirements that companies need to be responsible and disclose any breaches for. And it's called the NDB scheme, and it's part 3C of the Privacy Act. I'll cover a bit more about the Australian privacy principles shortly. And it talks about notifying affected individuals and the commissioner of any data breaches. So as I mentioned, I'll cover a bit more of that later. Now, I did mention that I was going to introduce you to a nasty character. This is the new nasty character. This is a new ransomware AI agent. And this Shiny Spider is this group that's come together to create a ransomware as a service. And Shiny Spider has been responsible for over 1,500 victims and has made over $300 million US dollars. How's that for an employee? Anyway, AI is a wonderful thing, but in the hands of bad actors, extremely dangerous. This is why you're here to learn about how you can do more to protect your business and its employees, but also understand your legal requirements in Australia's landscape particularly. But this is no longer the hero player in our markets. We now have a new contender. Anthropic released Mythos, and you all, I'm sure, have heard about it. If you've not, April 2026, Anthropic released Project Glasswing, and was a project to bring together some of the top security and infrastructure companies to make use of Mythos, which is still currently in preview. And there were roughly 50 partners that were invited to preview Mythos. And since then, this model has been deployed to more and more companies, I should say. Now, during its initial release, when Anthropic released Mythos about 8 weeks ago, they had uncovered more than 2,000 previously known vulnerabilities, including 271 in Firefox, 150 alone, and 157 flaws and 2 0 days. Now, that was 8 weeks ago. Since then, Anthropic has come out and has shared that there's more than 10,000 vulnerabilities they've found. And that's in only 8 weeks. And as we've since heard last on Wednesday, Mythos and Fable 5 were both asked by the US government to stop being released because they're too powerful. And Anthropic has since backed off from that. That's a very quick overview of Anthropic and Mythos and these new tools. So this slide is very important for us all to contemplate, and it's really understand the meaning behind it. In today's digital landscape, it's not a matter of if your organization will face a cyber threat, but when. Cyber resilience, not just prevention, it is more essential than ever to protect and to survive in business today. I'll discuss shortly with Phil. We'll dive into a bit more of these things. Some more important numbers closer to home. The Australian Signals Directorate released the annual cyber report and responded. I don't remember what it was last year. I think it was 1,200. This is now 4,200 incidents in Australia alone. 85,000 cybercrimes reported last financial year alone. Now, that's without mandatory reporting. So when we get mandatory reporting, is that going to be 185,000 next year? Scary stuff. Cybercrime cost to business are rising, with an average SMB having to pay around 56,000 Australian dollars. And that's an increase of 14%. Now, if you look at it as medium business, it's almost $100,000. Now, this is real data from the Australian Signals Directorate. And unfortunately, all you need is one incident to be headline news and erode years and decades of trust that you've built with your customers. Later, Phil will talk about the 2026 independent IRAP assessment. I do want to talk a little bit about the security message and how AI is actively playing a part in security, the new challenges that cybersecurity is being faced in mainstream use of AI, some data breaches from across APAC, and what organizations need to do today to combat this new threat. So we are all clearly in the age of AI, and AI is embedded in every workday, and that has changed the security equation. AI is a shield, and it's a sword, and it's an Achilles heel. It helps defenders move faster, but it also allows attackers to scale and automate like never before. So the question is, in the worst case scenario, what would you do? How quickly could you contain the breach? And do you have a plan in place? Do you know what data was infiltrated and what your legal obligations are? This is why preparedness matters more than ever. Next, I'll show you how AI can be used as defense and offensively, and how Microsoft builds security into AI so it becomes an advantage, not a risk. So in the exact same way Microsoft enables your system to defend, attackers can weaponize AI to allow them to become more efficient. For example, on the left, we have some ways attackers can be weaponized. The use of generative AI to create audio and deepfakes, using AI to morph existing malware, as we discussed before, instantly creating new zero-day threats, and using AI to find gaps in organizational security posture. And third-party threats we should also talk about as well, those supply chain attacks. The speed in which they can now attack in the world of AI has introduced new challenges to traditional cybersecurity methods. To help defend against this, Microsoft are using various AI tools in their security tools, and they have enhanced monitors, and they've got, I think, trillions of signals a day that they get in,
1 trillion a day.
1 trillion signals a day. This is the CSIDB, the cybersecurity database. There's a ton of content here. I don't want to talk to all of it. There's just too much here. But just recently, I just want to highlight a couple of things. University of Sydney, they were breached with that shiny spider hunters on that Canvas attack with the LMS. They were more than 9,000 institutions. I said 1,200 institutions, more than 9,000 institutions affected by that. What about locally? There's a company in Brisbane, Kennedy McLaughlin Associates, accounting firm, and you can click on any of these if you wish. They were founded in 1930, and they were recently a victim of a cyber breach in May after it was listed on their darknet. Their data was listed on the darknet by a group called Quillen. We'll probably talk about Quillen next time as well. Not enough time now, but Quillen is also a big actor. 1,800 victims in the last 12 since it was first observed in 2022. Another very big player. 98 countries that they cover, so not just APAC. Now we're sharing these because we know you have a lot to do. We're here to assist you on these, and we're working very closely with Australian experts across cybersecurity industries. So please work with us today. Don't wait till you need to deploy your press team to help with the damage control. We just don't want you to be in that situation. What you need to know in the Australian Privacy Act. Now, in 2025, saw many changes to the Privacy Act, and they'll have major implications for businesses and IT managers. Mandatory staff training on privacy and data protection is included now. Creating internal procedures for handling security data, implementing technical safeguards to protect your environment, incident response plans, putting measures to secure your personal information, all need to be accounted for now. Faster breach notifications, extended definitions on what's personal information and how it includes the capturing of metadata now, not just personal data, behavior data or inferred information. And on the right-hand side, we talk about doxing, how that's now illegal and criminalized. Mandatory ransomware payment reporting now within 72 hours from the Australian Signals Directorate, and increasing penalties for individuals and businesses. Now, because of these challenges, there are new legal and insurance implications that you need to be aware of too. The maximum civil penalty for companies is greater of any of these. Now, the penalty unit's up to $331 per penalty unit. This is up 10% from last year. I imagine it's going to go up another 10% in the next few months. 50,000 penalty units, which is about $16.5 million. So whatever the greatest of the two is. And the benefits or the benefits obtained are 10% of the annual turnover with a cap of 2.5 million penalty units. That's over $27 million. So serious stuff here. Now, I'm not suggesting that you guys are going to be in that situation. You just need to be aware of it. The insurance companies are now introducing minimum compliance to take up a policy with them. Example, and we'll talk about that shortly, was Essential 8 Maturity 1. By not doing so, they can refuse your insurance or your premiums could skyrocket as a result. Government departments must now also meet the minimum requirements. There are new Know Your Privacy obligations. The guidance provides directions to businesses about what PII information is stored, how they collect it, how you must protect it, and when it must be deleted, supporting strong integrations and transparency across anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism funding under the regulation. The updated guidance is to support an expanding range of benefits that will soon fall under the Australian Privacy Act of 1998. The Act was talking about Tranche 1 and Tranche 2. They're coming to force in 15 days or something. It's very not long away. Now, there are higher standards for consent and fair collection, and many businesses have always relied on implied consent. Not good enough anymore. So it's good to see that the government's doing this. There is more accountability for data security, not just having a policy, but your privacy policy also has to talk about how you're storing data, how long you intend to store it for, and my rights are whether I can have them expunged or not. So more and more around that, which is good to see. And number 4, the big one for AI is before the 11th of December. So you've got a bit of time, but this is coming. Entities must update their privacy policies to include explaining statements when they are using and detecting. They call them ADM, which is the personal identifying information that's using advanced software like AI to help. So there's new laws coming around ADM. which also includes access controls, multi-factor authentication, self-training, vendor risk management. Yep, that's come up in, that's not due just yet, but it's coming in tranche 3 as well. And secure disposal of information like we just shared before. So just because you've got data doesn't mean you can keep it anymore. You have to prove why you need it and why it should be kept around. I think that might mean that you could probably obfuscate some people's names, like you may not become Phil Meyer anymore. You might become ABC123.
Anonymized.
Yeah. There is an MOU between the OAIC and the E-Safety Commissioner, usually 2 separate things. So it's good to see that these guys are coming together. They've entered into a formal collaboration to protect Australian privacy and online safety. It's really good to see that. I presume at some stage they'll merge, but who knows? This is important as governments attempt to bridge the regulations, saying we will officially work together, not just cooperate informally. Lots of companies are in tech and reeling over what this actually means in the space of AI, but at least we seem to be leading here. And I noticed that the Prime Minister of the UK have just recently announced that they're also applying that under age 16. Now, the first thing, well, there's 4 things on the screen here. We're happy to help you through all of these. So reach out to us. We think executive sponsorship is probably the best thing we could lean in with, because there are a lot of changes and we'll help guide you on all these areas. Privacy and AI governance, we live and breathe it. And Ahmed will talk about that shortly as well. Assessment and controls and visibility are all critically important, and we'll help with that as well. And board reporting, obviously, as well. That's our final one there.
It's interesting, the list you provided there is very consistent with AI adoption in a business too. Yeah. You can turn it around and call this an AI session, or you can call this a security session, but executive buy-in, governance and compliance, they're key elements for the success of an AI project, 100%. As much as it is the security. I just wanted to give you some further indications of where Gen AI is having an impact. Ben's already given some pointers in that space, but I'd just like to amplify those in a different way. Touch on some of the elements to do with what comes in M365, shorthand from Microsoft 365. So whilst Ben provided a stirring and rousing threats and concerns, part of what I'm kind of trying to impart with you is that you've actually got a lot of the technologies to help you in the defense position already. Right. If you're a Microsoft 365 user, there's technology which we'll expand on later on, things like Purview and Defender. You've got in the box. So do work with the Exigo Tech team who've got expertise on how to realize the value of the investment you've already made. You've probably got the tools, you've got the technologies, you've got the AI-powered tools to be able to address the Privacy Reform Act, to identify and notify Data Breach Act, to deal with the governance and compliance that it comes in the age of AI, actually in the box already. Yeah. It's about activating it. Yeah. So please, your team, have a great opportunity to work with the Perk Wheel on the line today to really be well positioned for the era of AI. I will go into a little bit of security action, a few demonstrations to clarify that. And then we've got these little maps and lightweight guides. So let's have a look at how it's impacting. Look, I do like to start with this whenever I start a presentation, to just talk about this commitment that Microsoft has had. And it's not a new commitment. This actually dates back to about 2006. Now, AI isn't a new thing, everybody. AI has actually been around since longer than I've been around, Ben, since 1958. And I came here 2 years after that, 1960. But Microsoft in about 2006 could see the usage of AI emerging on the cloud platforms and its environments, more around machine learning, predictive maintenance, IoT. And then, who knows the date? Put it in the chat. Come on, use that chat. Who remembers when ChatGPT first emerged as an example of the first consumer available Gen AI?
November 2023?
22.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So 22, November 2022, time's flying by. So nearly 4 years. Yeah. We've had 3.5 years. We've had Gen AI. The idea of generative AI being the idea that we can now talk through our computer, speak with our voice. Artificial intelligence is giving us insights and summaries and creating documents and now doing agents and the like. But at the core, Microsoft has these 6 principles that it's continued: privacy, transparency, accountability, inclusiveness, fairness. And a lot of those rules actually are manifest in the UN's ethical standards. So if you look at the United Nations, they're not made up by Microsoft. Microsoft looks to the United Nations, which is part of its charter is to provide ethics and fairness and responsibility. So many of these principles have actually borrowed from and then implemented in the Microsoft platform. Now, if we do look specifically at the workplace, And this is an area that Microsoft has now had 5 separate reports into over the last 2.5 years, where we've seen those increases in efficiency, that automation of tasks. Percentages that come to the top of my head: 68% increase in productivity, 70% increase in quality of work by using these generative AI tools in the workplace, enhancing decision making by connecting in through technology into core business systems. So it's not just about your Word documents and your spreadsheets. It's also connecting into core business systems, whether using Dynamics, which is a Microsoft suite, which again, the Exigo Tech team have incredible skill set within, or maybe you're not, maybe using Salesforce or SAP or Oracle or MYOB or Xero. There's ways in which the team here at Exigo Tech can bring in that data to improve your customer and employee experience by integrating into those core structured data systems to help with data decision making with inside your workplace. Now, it's interesting how with the approach of generative AI, we've moved from those traditional threat vectors of protecting our endpoint, an antivirus and anti-malware technology, protecting our network with things like VPNs and scanners, protecting our data with some permissions control over the data, to the next level up. So this is where we've got to think in the generative AI world of terms like prompts, responses, training data, RAG models, retrieval augmented generation models, where they're now doing things like data leaks. Part of that data leak simply comes through oversharing without appropriate governance controls in place inside the business, within the business, not just external, but in the business. Suddenly data is being exposed to colleagues in the business who may or may not be entitled to see that documentation and information. HR systems. I've had personal experiences with people who've tapped me up the shoulder at events. Hard to tap me on the shoulder here, but at events I'm face to face, and they said, "Oh, we had it in our school." And the student, within 2 weeks, they knew to write a prompt to get the salaries of the teaching staff.
Yeah.
So that sort of oversharing because the governance hadn't been implemented internally. Now, maybe that's not such a threat. It's just in the school. But there are many, many, many examples of oversharing of data in the public domain, and how these models are also learning your data. So you wait for the next version of GPT 5.6 or Opus 4.7. If your people have been using your data as a consumer, that data is also leaking. That data is being overshared. That data is training the model for the next generation to get answers about your business agreements, your terms and conditions, which you probably don't want.
Mm-hmm.
The other concerning thing about using consumer-grade AI in a workplace setting is this idea that you are working with data which is inaccurate. The latest figure I have is about 31% of the data that sits in these public AI models is just wrong. Restaurants that don't exist, recipes that don't work, technical processes that are inaccurate, because somebody's told those models, "Oh no, this model works."
Yeah.
It doesn't know how to do it itself. So it then says, "Oh, I'll take your comments, Ben, and I accept those as right." "Oh, is that the way we do that? Right, I'll take that on board." So now your executives are making decisions on incorrect information. So there's a real need in this Gen AI world to create what I call a well of trusted and curated information and turn the business grade AI systems, such as Copilot, to look at those trusted wells of information so that we can prevent jailbreaking, we can prevent hallucinations, we can create models that are not vulnerable to external forces.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just some aspects to do and consider. So just to reiterate, things like data oversharing, the data leaking. So one of the aspects that you may or may not be aware of in your business, in your subscription to Microsoft 365 is what's called insider risk management. What if you in fact do have a disgruntled employee who decides to poison that well that I mentioned? We've got this trusted SharePoint site that we've been using for accurate guidance to our clients, using large language models to do that, that are not learning my data, but are being told you don't learn my data. But then a disgruntled employee injects into that well incorrect information. This is why Microsoft provides a technology called insider risk management that says, "Hey, this doesn't look right. With everything else that's in this well, this is a departure from the norm. We need to send alerts to an administrator or somebody at Exigo Tech to just go and check the well, check who's put that in, and you find out that person has left the business or is an unhappy employee." So, it might be a negligent accident. I suffer a bit from dyslexia. I can try what I think is 37 and it turns out to be 73. I put that as a percentage increase or a new percentage on payroll and it's wrong. The insider risk management will pick up that insider risk, which was just negligence maybe or accident, as well as that disgruntled employee. So these are some of the aspects. Now, there is a lot of fragmentations of solutions out there, and I appreciate. Look, I go to some of these events these days, and there's 40 companies at a show who've got AI in their name these days. Yeah. And so you walk up to one of those stands, and I can give you something to do with trusting your data sources. And another person says, I can help to identify exposing gaps, and I can help you with duplicating data. And that fragmentation just increases complexity and cost. It creates inefficiency in the way in which you're governing your AI. Look, yes, I don't work for Microsoft anymore. I did work there. I still bleed Microsoft. But the good thing is that Microsoft isn't a fragmented set of solutions. It's an integrated set of solutions, a comprehensive set of solutions with, completely enabled partners like Exigo Tech who have solution designation and verification. They've got the skills to implement this sort of stuff for you. So in this idea, to secure that data, you need to think about, ways to find the hidden risks and the data everywhere. So assessment tools, discovery tools that do that. Again, Microsoft has a discovery and assessment tool. Ways to protect that data loss across the organization. Data loss prevention, it's a pretty obvious name. Again, an element you want to activate in the environment. And tools to quickly investigate and respond to those sharing incidents. So assessment and remediation and automation, so not just detecting, but automation capabilities that not only identify those incidents, but remediate those incidents to ensure that they don't happen again. Look, this can be exceptionally confusing for all of you, that there are so many frameworks. Now, in certain countries, there's mandatory requirements to adhere to certain sets. You can see names in the certain specifications like Singapore and Germany and GDPR, and Australia has IRAP. But some of those are more international, some that I really like, things like NIST and SIST. They're really great models to think at an international level. And certainly if you're an entity that is dealing with international partners, clients, you do need to take on board some of the requirements, such as GDPR, if you're dealing with Europe. Yep. So this is, again, these frameworks, there's tools, assessment tools, the skills, again, at Exigo Tech to help understand which one of these. And wonderful thing is that Microsoft actually have compliance templates that you apply to your environment, and it'll automatically determine, right, this is medical health information. To be compliant with HIPAA, we need to protect these data types to these sorts of individuals. So you're not having to play this game of trying to identify the pieces and dissect it in complex document and apply it in the environment. Microsoft understands these frameworks. Exigo Tech knows how to apply those to the setting that is your business after an assessment, so you can adhere to these different frameworks.
Yeah, I just noticed Microsoft have recently completed all of their assessments again and passed them all again.
Correct. Yes. So, all right, so let's have a look at that. I've got a little video to play, which will talk you through some of what Microsoft's doing across many aspects to do with security, and particularly security in the era of
Marker.
The age of agentic AI is upon us, and with it, a new frontier of work that helps you get intelligence in depth, increase productivity, and elevate potential. For us to unlock the potential of AI, we must start with trust, and trust starts with security.
That's why security is our #1 priority at Microsoft. We put it above all else, building products that are secure by design, secure by default, and with secure operations all around.
We deliver an AI-first, end-to-end security platform to address all your needs, from AI apps to platforms to agents, from code to cloud, from external threats to insider risks.
Using generative AI to protect at AI speed and scale, we help defenders proactively protect what matters most.
We make products that work with your existing investments, not ask you to replace them.
Our services help mitigate risks, respond to breaches, and reduce the burden on your operations, so you can focus on what matters.
We work with the entire ecosystem to offer you comprehensive protection.
So today, tomorrow, and beyond, security can create opportunity for you. We know trust has to be earned every day, and we are so grateful for yours.
Yeah, somebody put it to me the other day. It seems that Microsoft isn't a cloud company. They're a security company that also has a cloud. The amount of technologies and the diversity is just immense. And I think a way in which they calculate that each year is through what's called the annual Microsoft Digital Defense Report. You can access it through the link. That link should be active for you. Or you can just follow that little short URL I've included there, aka.ms/MDDR. Now, it is extensive. It's not expensive, it's free, but it's extensive in that it goes into about 108 pages, which dissects so many different tangents in and around the world of digital offence. Look, one of the pages I have snipped in here, or some of the data points I've snipped in here, are some of the unique vantage points that Microsoft offer. That 100 trillion signals every day processed into an AI landscape so that they can detect the shiny hunters and they can detect what's happening from nation state actors. It talks about the billions of emails that they protect every day, the millions of identities they protect every day, and the teams of people at Microsoft, 34,000 people full-time at Microsoft just on security, which is a massive team out of some 150,000 people, that you've got that percentage allocated to security. And that's not coding applications. That's actually looking at the dark web, identifying where credentials are up for sale, notifying clients that a username password is leaked, taking automated actions themselves and responsible, working with law enforcement, working with public law enforcement, sharing data with the other security vendors. Yes, they share with the other security vendors. Whilst there is a competitive angle of what Microsoft is purporting, there is also a cooperative angle in this, because truly the big competitor, the enemy here, is nation-state actors and cybercrime organisations. So that 100 trillion signals, they actually share those findings every day, every minute, with tens of other security vendors out there to try to make the world a safer place, a more secure place for everyone. Look, there is a lot to the Microsoft security wheel. It isn't just a, McAfee, oh, I've got a malware antivirus. There is a lot more to this than antivirus and anti-malware. To deal with email that's compromised, phishing attacks, which is more in the defense stage. But it actually moves more into that idea of identity and access management. Who are you? Where are you accessing from? What are you accessing on? Multi-factor authentication. That identity and access is a key element that is also part of that sphere, of Microsoft technology. That threat protection, which is in and around a lot of people use the word security, but security to me is just one tangent. Protection and governance are key elements that come. That's where we think about the elements I've already referred to, like insider risk management, labeling documents for confidential or highly confidential. If it is marked so, who is able to access the file? Can they print it? Can they edit it? Can they share it externally? If they can share it externally, let's identify specifically the constituents to which I can share that information to deal with oversharing and preventing things like data leakage. So that element isn't a traditional area that you would find most companies that purport themselves to be in the security space actually offer. Most are on the endpoint security side. This is more about documents. This is more about files. This is about meetings. It's about emails, and it's even about database. The most used security technology on AWS is actually a technology called Microsoft Purview to help protect the databases sitting in Amazon S3. And we haven't got time to get into it today, but also the device management. What device? The technology called Intune. And I wanted to thank Ben for this slide because he created it. I think he's done a really good job here of lining up across what is there 8 different dimensions you can think beyond security. I think of that as security, governance, compliance, and privacy. How we've got these technologies from Microsoft, many of which exist in your Microsoft 365 subscription, not all of them. The two on the right-hand side, you don't get the Sentinel components, which is running a SOC, if you all know what a SOC is, a SIEM and a SOAR, incident and event management, and orchestration and recovery. But many of the other elements, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth column, you will find those elements existing in your Microsoft 365 subscription. Alternatively, you can go and buy a raft of other different products below the line there to address what Microsoft does. Now, you might go, well, but Microsoft probably isn't as good. No, that was true about 10 years ago. But now, pretty much in every class, Microsoft is best in class. Yeah. So best of breed and also best of platform across all those dimensions. And recognition, I think, comes from Copper and Cole. And you can see there when it comes to Gen AI specifically, they have turned out to be the leader. Palo Alto, they're great. I really like Palo, what they do. sadly, like Cisco, they just showed up in the Mythos attack with holes in their security technology. So there's things that, and it's hard to say that because I've got immense respect for Palo, and they will fix it. They will fix it. Don't worry if you're on Palo. I know that now it's been identified. They will repair. As is Cisco, although Cisco's shown up in a lot the CVEs over the last 6 months quite a bit. So I really think they need to double down to improve their fitness. Yeah, they were 0 day. Yeah, it's good to hear. Look, if you're a smaller business, anybody on the call with less than 300 employees, thumbs up. If you got less than 300 staff.
Well, and if the customer who using Palo, they may be able to fix. They need to fix that one.
They do.
Yeah, we did get a few thumbs up, but I always thought most people on this call would be under 300.
Under 300? Then Business Premium's a great offer. It really is. If you're not on Business Premium, I mean, it comes with these elements in the box for security. The Defender against cyber attacks, which is your simple endpoint detections, your malware, your phishing. It comes with the safety of your data, which is actually identifying based on who's using. It's got a discovery tool to say, right, HR, they need to have a permissions control on that. The SharePoint needs to have a control on that to let people who are not students access HR records associated with teaching staff, for example. And that manage access and device, which is specifically the technology called Intune, which also helps you set up your conditional-based access. Traveling overseas, can they access using their work computer? Yes. But can they access via a public Wi-Fi? No. They have to apply a VPN connection or whatever it might be, just to give that hardening of access to critical business resources when somebody's traveling and working from a different location on a different device. All right, so BP, as I said, it's very comprehensive. It's got all those wonderful Microsoft 365 apps. It's got the Teams security. It's quite a cost-effective way to buy the security elements, and I've got a cheeky slide coming up later that kind of highlights that as well. And as I mentioned earlier, they are, if not the top-rated security vendor, they're in the leader circle anyway, in every single category. Now, I did want to diverge a little bit into a conversation about AI. Specifically, there's quite a bit of confusion out there in the market about what is this thing called Copilot from Microsoft. And indeed, there are multiple Copilots from Microsoft. As Ben knows, I use this little expression as a point of humor, so you're allowed to laugh. But Microsoft has more Copilots than Qantas these days. and I've only got 3 here today, but there is a plethora of other AI Copilots that come from Microsoft across sales, across finance, across customer service, across developer, across security development, across security, Copilot security. There are a lot. But these are 3 that I thought were relevant to bring to your attention today. There is a paid for one. So that's the one in the middle, $47. And that's the one that came out nearly 3 years ago. About a year after ChatGPT hit the market, Microsoft created the first Copilot, which is a paid for subscription, which then put generative AI within Word, in Excel, in PowerPoint. People bought it just for the teams. Teams record, teams recap, create action lists. And then more recently, they brought out in December last year a lightweight version. Well, it's actually exactly the same version, but at a cheaper price. So if you are a business of less than 300 people, Microsoft realized that $47 was a bit expensive. So we'll make the same product available to you for $32.97. So it's actually the same tech. It's just at a lower small business price. All right. Will it work if you're a big business? No, you've got to buy the more expensive one. But if you're a small business, you can buy the cheaper one. But what's the one on the left-hand side? Chat. That is free. Now, please, if you are on your computer, you can hit that start button and just make sure you can find that little logo, the Copilot logo, but with the black bar underneath it that says M365. Now, that is free in your business today to use. And I would say the majority of your staff will be delighted to use that. And it comes with a couple of key ingredients that you might be paying for today with third-party AI platforms, ChatGPT Enterprise or Claude Work. And they've sold that to you, or your staff have bought that going, well, I need to protect the data in my business so that it doesn't train that model. I remember I mentioned that your models will be training, those models are trained on your data. So you could pay to prevent them from learning your data. But why not just use this? It has the same thing included in your Microsoft 365 subscription, and it's included.
And do we still get Work IQ with the free tier, or do we need to pay for it?
You need to get Work IQ, you need to pay, but what you do get is multi-model.
Right.
You get ChatGPT, 7 ChatGPTs, OpenAI models from 4.5 mini through to the latest 5.5.
Okay.
And you also get Anthropic, Opus 4.6 at the moment, but Sonnet is likely to come. We won't see Fazel or Mentos. And Haku is more for coders, so it won't appear in this space. The Haku's one. So you get all those models included for free in your subscription. Now, if you're not paying though, it automatically figures out whether to use OpenAI, the GPT models, or whether to use the Anthropic models, the Opus or Sonnet, based on what the prompt is.
Good.
But if you pay, you actually can determine which model you want to use. You can choose. You can leave it as auto. You can choose, or you can just leave it. Now, in the unpaid for one, you can choose whether it's deep research or whether you want a quick answer, and it will again choose the less expensive model to use or the more appropriate model. Why would I care? Well, you might care because you care about the environment. Because if you think about, if you appreciate how much AI energy is used by AI, anybody got a sense? I'll give you a little factor. Every time you do a prompt of over 200 words, you've used as much energy as it takes to recharge my phone from zero. So you've got 200 words in your prompt. You've just gone from zero on your mobile phone to charging it in terms of the energy consumption. That's why the forecasts are in North America, they're going to move from 2% of all energy being applied to data centers to 18% by 2030 being used by data centers. That's remarkable, the amount of energy that AI takes. And if you're environmentally sensitive as I am, I will tend to go for the quick answer, which is less energy consumption, and be quite satisfied, unless I do need to do some deep research, and I'll choose it. Look, as another way to frame it, so please ask your staff, maybe an action from this meeting is to just check with your staff that they are aware that Copilot Chat is available to them for free, that it uses multi-models. And look, I know we're all under financial pressures. It's amazing, it's nice that petrol's down at the moment, but we're only a couple of weeks away before it goes back up again.
Coffee's up though.
Coffee's
$5.50 for a coffee.
$5.50 for coffee. Yeah. So all those things. And if your business is under pressure, like many other businesses, do you really need to pay for that ChatGPT enterprise license or that Claude for Work license? Probably not. When you've got both models included for free as part of your Microsoft 3.
You get the added benefit of Work IQ if you bring that across to Microsoft.
If you bring that across, yes. You love Work.
I do love Work.
A day doesn't go by without him saying IQ in some way.
That's right.
There's a little more detail on those lineups. We make these slides available so you can digest at your leisure. This is my cheeky slide that I threw in, Ben. I hope you don't mind too much doing something like this, which is just highlighting that if you've got your business premium license with the Copilot business, you're out at about $32. This is US figures, so I haven't translated to Australian, okay? So I don't feel comfortable quoting in Aussie dollars because I don't know what you charge, but I know these US dollars at 32. And the good news is that $30 is going to stay the same. That was a promotional price through to July 1, but Microsoft had said we will keep that price going for the foreseeable future until they do the next price increases.
And John just shared a quick update as well as a value add there.
Oh, yeah. What was that? Read it out.
Exclusive to Telstra, talk with Exigo Tech for eligibility and upgrade paths on how to apply a discount on purchase. Available on Copilot standalone at 15% off.
Oh, right.
That's that.
That's good.
New offer. Thank you very much, Telstra.
Thank you for that, Telstra. Now, you could go and buy Google Workspace, and you go and get Slack for the chat bits that Teams do. And you could go and buy Notion, which gives you a bit of a SharePoint-like experience. You could even go and get Canva because you want to do some fancy design work, which is like what PowerPoint does. You could use Gemini, and Gemini's great. My daughter works at Google. I think it's a great AI platform. But I'd have to pay more for that if I wanted to secure my data and protect my data. And then I'd have to go and buy a product like CrowdStrike, which is kind of about the nearest thing to what the suite of Microsoft technology is. And now I'm out to $100.
Yep. US.
Yeah, $100 US instead of 32. So you're paying 3 times the price by doing this hodgepodge of solutions to get the solution together. Now, I have another cheeky slide that I haven't included in the deck here, where I compare it also if you're buying various different AI models. So if you had ChatGPT Enterprise because you wanted this, and you also wanted Claude for Work, and you wanted a bit of Grok Business, and you wanted to get a bit of Gemini Enterprise, and you wanted to get some Perplexity, and that goes to $180. Now, I know people out there who are doing that, who buy it's a bit like my analogy to streaming media at home. Who's got Netflix? Who's got Stan? Who's got Binge? Who's got Paramount? Who's got Disney? Right? All these different streaming media services. Whereas when you go Microsoft, they give you access to all those movies, all those capabilities for that $32.
And I've never seen a rate limit on any of it. I'm using it all the time, and I never see any of that come through from Microsoft.
I had to be the cheeky one out because I don't work there anymore. Microsoft don't tend to like to do those mappings and comparisons.
Yeah.
But now I don't work there anymore. I think it really helps a partner and customers to understand just another dimension on cost, and cost is paramount these days. No worries, Gravel, whatever. John, did you want to add anything to this point here about the ROI? I think you've just added it, haven't you?
Yeah, indeed. So, there were some exclusive offers there, not just on Copilot, but pretty much the combined offer there where a business premium plus Copilot that you shared before. So that's a pretty important offer from Telstra as well. So just wanted to put that.
Great.
Thanks. It's in the chat. Anyone who wants to see that?
Yeah, just have a look at those images that I've just shared. And of course, E7 if you're moving into that space. Okay.
Right. Well, I better get a hurry along. Look, one of the elements that I think that really is powerful with the Copilot investment and that commitment is the management and reporting. Not only security and governance and the management controls, but that helping you understand who is actually using the AI in the business. Now, you don't get that with the other vendors of AI. You only get the ability to enterprise data protection, copy and paste your data up to their clouds to do the work. You don't have to do any of that copy and paste. And the other value is Copilot brings you these control systems for who's using it, who's not using it, how can I help those people who are not using it adopt it better? And there's adoption labs as well within that. So very good. Look, I'm going to just mention these new add-ons that have come to Business Premium. The one that I really love is the bottom one on the right, the Purview Suite. In the age of AI, where I can move to automatic detection of protection of documents is very powerful. Look, in Business Premium, you get a lot of identify and detect, but these new suites, which I believe are kicking in around about $9 per user per month now at a half price offer to the end of the season and to the end of this month, really good. So get into that one quickly for that automated detection and protection capabilities in that suite. Yes, it is $9 per user per month. Ending at the end of this month.
But did I not hear they're going to extend that?
But the Copilot they're extending and the Business Premium price they're extending, but not the Purview Suite. So that will go up.
Well, it's your last chance, guys.
Last chance to get in that and get the Purview Suite. Look, I've got a little video that highlights some of the elements that I'm talking about that goes beyond security. And let me roll the video because I'm
Microsoft 365 Copilot works with the data security controls you have in place for file access, labeling, classification, and data loss prevention. Mario Rogers works for Violet Martinez, and both are on the same team at Contoso. Mario and Violet are also members in the same group working on Project Falcon. Now we'll start with Violet, who's been working with the procurement and contract management teams to sell their partner ReliCloud 1,500 Mark 8 quadcopters. And you can see the file is labeled highly confidential with restricted access, and it describes all the terms in the purchase agreement. Because Violet has access to the file, she's able to search for and find it in SharePoint and Microsoft365.com. And of course, Violet can also navigate to the file's location in the Agreements folder of the project site to find the purchase agreement. So now let's look at Mario's experience. Even though he's on the same team and working on Project Falcon with Violet, if Mario tries to search for the Contoso purchase agreement, he won't find it. And there are a few purchasing documents that he does find without sensitive information, but not the one that Violet's working on. And if Mario knows the location of the purchase agreement and tries to navigate to it directly, it just appears as an empty folder to him. And when Mario launches Word on the web and creates a blank document, then prompts Microsoft 365 Copilot to summarize the Contoso purchase agreement as a reference file, because Microsoft 365 Copilot respects the file permissions of its user, Copilot also cannot access the purchase agreement. Now if we switch back to Violet's screen, because she has permission to access the purchase agreement, she can use Microsoft 365 Copilot to summarize the file. And after a moment, you'll see it created a summary of the purchase agreement, and Violet decides to keep it. Then data security controls for Microsoft Purview discover sensitive information found in the Microsoft 365 Copilot generated content. The document is automatically labeled as highly confidential, and policies are enforced to restrict access to the document.
I really like that little video. We'll make the slides available to you. So if you want to share with colleagues, peers, you've got the ability to play that back. I will admit there's quite a bit that happens in that particular video. If the two users, one's got access to the file, the other user doesn't, the blank folder comes up because he doesn't have permission to even see the file. Then he even tries to use the summarize because he doesn't have permission. No, can't summarize it because you don't have permission to the file. Now the key thing is that when Violet does open up the file and undertakes a summary, automatic classification of the document based on the contents that are defined within that document. And that is either customizable or consistent with various rules, which might be GDPR related or healthcare related or insurance industry related, financial services industry related, that would be applied. Now, what I've done here is just a quick set of slides. I'm not going to talk to all these slides in details. They're there as your reference, but it just paints the picture of what you get in Business Premium on the left-hand side and what you get with those additional suites that, we mentioned the $9 per user per month suite. Now, this is the Defender suite talking about advanced identity protection. So left-hand side is what you get in the box, multi-factor authentication. You do the add-on, you get those additional automatic detected sign-ins as high risk and blocking of access automatically. Then in the email protection, absolutely, we can self-report suspicious emails. In the Defender suite, we have that enhanced email detect. It detects, it deletes malicious emails, it blocks that attacker's domain, and it checks other users' mailboxes for similar emails automatically. If we look at endpoint protection, again in the Defender suite, we're moving to advanced threat protection on the endpoints, automatically isolating infected devices and hunting out for devices that may have similar infections as well. So we will detect that automatic element comes with this additional investment. In the cloud app security, and this again is in the Defender suite, detects the upload, blocks immediate, and alerts IT about people uploading unsanctioned file types.
All for $9 a month.
All for $9.
Well, it's going to 18, but at the moment it's
at $9 a month. And if you lock it in for $9 now, you get it for the rest for another 12 months.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's good. Then if we move into data loss, let me just give you a quick video. It's a very, very simple video that shows the data loss scenario. Here we are. I got a couple of files on my desktop. I copy that file. That's my family folder. I can put that across on a USB. Now I'm taking a confidential document. I try and copy that across to USB. Windows, security, no, that is a protected document. You can't stick that on a USB. Can't even stick it on a USB, right? How good's that? Then we go to the next layer. Here we are. We're taking my family photos again, or we're taking a project document, and I'm trying to upload that to my Gmail. No, you can't have that in your Gmail, right? We move on to the next little sample video. So this is going to show data loss prevention on a mobile device, because this doesn't just work on a Windows device. Microsoft security technology works on, obviously, Windows, on Mac, on Android, on iPhone, and also on Linux. So it's very broad in the deployment. So in this case, I've taken out my phone, my iPhone. I've tried to put in a credit card number. The company says, you're in a company Teams account. You can't be putting credit card numbers in your Teams session. Identifying that as well. Another little video for you. This is data prevention, which is necessary for your compliance to notifiable data breach. That's what it's called, isn't it? Ben, NDB, February 2022, that came into effect. So this is showing that for financial data. So, here we are inside an invoice. I'm going to type in a credit card number. You can't go and put a credit card number in an invoice unless you automatically classify it as confidential. So that was typing in the number, classify the document automatically. And then another version of that is a secret. So this is not a credit card number, but I'm putting in some document that is protected. So here I've sent an email. Well, Megan sent me an email, has an attachment. I can look at the positions of this PDF file. I can copy the contents, but I can't edit it within the PDF. So I'm going to copy some of the content. I'm going to copy the project name. I'm also going to copy a picture of that motherboard with the text around it, and boom, up it pops with the yellow bar saying, hey, this is protected information. automatically saying, well, what is protected? Project Jupyter, and you identifying that motherboard. So if you try and save that file, you'll have to apply sensitivity, automatically puts a watermark in, so top secret, and updates the permissions in the SharePoint site to say this is highly confidential.
Great.
So that's all the stuff you get again as part of that business premium. And I would commend you to think about the Purview suite, which gives those additional. So these are some of these opportunities, these outcomes, security challenges, and how the Defender suite and the Purview suite help you identify that.
Did we talk about the pricing of them together?
I didn't.
Because there is one.
There is a
If you put
price.
them together.
Why don't we ask John?
John, what's the serious price if we put them together, please? Put you on the spot there.
And I'll keep going because I'm 4 minutes out before I pass over to you, my friend. Look, at the end of it, the Defender suite for Purview brings these extensive protections across identity, collaboration, what SaaS applications. One of the great elements that I've seen many customers apply in the era of AI is they want to stop people using consumer grade AI in their business. Stop them using just a ChatGPT or a Claude or a Grok or a Thetic. One of the things you can do right there in Business Premium is say, no, the only one you're allowed to use is the ones we sanction. You know, paid for versions of Claude or paid for versions of ChatGPT, or just use Copilot only, because you get both of those anyway and you get it for free in terms of the chat version, right? So you can actually use the security to help harden your environment against that data loss from those other consumer grade AI platforms. And that's a little bit more words on exactly that topic. Look, Purview, who's my best buddy, I really love Purview. This is your absolute unified way to govern your data, protect your data, is through this Purview suite. Now, there is a lot to Purview suite. Again, if you want to know more about this suite, you can't go past these guys from Exigo Tech. They've got the skills, they've got the security designation, they understand what each of those little boxes mean, and they can come and explain that to you as the platform and the capabilities that can be enabled in your business to give you that confidence in using AI in the world. The bigger brother Purview, beyond the Purview suite, that add-on also brings in that DSPA for AI. Now, this is more in the enterprise space. You get DSPM, but that's an assessment tool. Runs in the environment, looks at how the users are using AI, looks at how they're using Copilot, looks at how they're accessing files, and comes out with a recommendation to you, or again, using the Exigo Tech team to recommend how you can set up the privacy controls in your business. I haven't got time really now to run this one, but we have the video available to you to show that insider risk. So we'll let that happen later. But I did want to help you with a little bit of an insight on how to navigate that Microsoft 365 licensing and some of the elements. You can go to this site called m365maps.com. You'll see it in blue down the bottom right-hand corner of the slide. I'll say it again for convenience, m365maps.com. Now, if you go in there and click that BPDP, see Business Premium, fourth row down, last column that's in blue, you can click on that and a little display comes up that looks like this. And so it's actually done by a Microsoft employee in Canberra who works with the ASD and the IRAP team and ISD and all the security departments of the government. And he does this in his spare time. But every one of those little links is hot linked. So if you want a fuller description for your teams to digest and understand what customer lockbox is and customer key. I love customer lockbox. Lockbox is, to me, something that you're not told about. So I'm going to tell you about it very briefly. Lockbox is a clear indication that Microsoft cannot see your data. Why is it clear, Phil? It's clear because if you think there's an issue with the information inside an attachment, inside a video, inside a file, and you can't open it or access it for some reason, you actually go to the Exigo Tech team and they can raise a ticket with Microsoft with your permissions through the lockbox to say, we give permission for Microsoft engineers to open that file up. Now, the fact that you have to give permission for Microsoft to open a file is clear indication they have no permission to access your files, your spreadsheets, or your Teams conversations.
Request for access.
But you have to give them permission, and you give them permission for a certain amount of time. from and to with a period of time. So it's what's called JIT and GIA, just enough and just in time access to this information. So I'm only going to talk to that one, but it's just a very clear example of Microsoft takes responsible AI seriously. Your data is your data. It does not train the model on your data. And that feature. Now, Essential 8, this is a quick map as of May 2026 on the capabilities in Microsoft 365 that help you to address the requirements of Essential 8. Now, if you're a government department, if you're a non-profit organisation, you've joined the call today, you are mandatorily required to follow Essential 8. The rest of you, it's an optional guidance. Now, I am going to pass over to Amit, who's going to take us through the next stage. Did you want to take control?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
You want the mouse?
Just to click on the next slide.
For the next slide.
Or do you want us to control it?
I can do it.
You can do that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No worries. We didn't rehearse this.
Thank you, Phil. You covered nicely the capabilities of M365. And now I will take one step further and I will show you what it looks like in the real Australian environment. What is the good, the bad, and the urgent. I will walk you through 4 things. Number 1, the Exigo Tech security journey. But this is from the lens of delivery, governance, and the real uplift work we are doing across Australia. Then I'll introduce the Deploy IQ, which is our agentic delivery framework for security and compliance. Third, I will be sharing some customer stories that shows where Australian organizations are struggling and how our Deploy IQ security framework helps them close those gaps. And lastly, I will share some industry, where the industry is heading, especially with the rise of AI, identity-driven security, and zero trust.
And don't forget the QR code at the end for the 4th reminder.
Of course,
yes,
we must do that.
That's most important. Okay. Firstly, the Exigo Tech security journey. We started back in 2015 with 4 people, but now we are globally at around 150 people with a strong footprint in Australia. And as we have grown, our security posture has also grown with us. Our biggest milestone were in 2020, where we achieved ISO 27001 certification, both in Australia and India. That means 2 audits we are doing every year for just ISO 27001. And last year, we achieved 0 non-conformities in Australia. This is the result of our very disciplined delivery, evidence-based processes, and a culture that treats security as non-negotiable. In 2022, Telstra rolled out their Essential 8 Uplift program and across partner network. And partners were expected to reach maturity level 3, the highest tier. And Exigo Tech was one of the first to get there. Then Microsoft Secure Score, we have surpassed 85 plus. That's not just a number, Benno.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone's got 85 plus.
This is very rare, and this is something that we are proud of.
Very.
And this is like identity hygiene, conditional access maturity, device compliance, data governance, and the attack surface reduction, all working together to reach to this level. The most important part is this, that security in Australia is no longer just about compliance. It's also about AI readiness. We are now helping Australian organizations prepare for a world where AI agents can act, decide, and access data. And that requires a completely different level of identity and governance maturity. And that's where our Deploy IQ clicks. This is where our Deploy IQ security delivery framework comes into the picture, which is a very structured methodology we used to uplift customers in repeatable and evidence-driven way. It comprises with humans plus its 7-8 agents that work or assist human, and sometimes they are upon the instructions of human, they can do the job, they can get the job done, report back to human for review, and that's how we are proceeding with this Deploy IQ. It is basically, we are now redefining security and compliance together. It can help you to get your zero trust secure, zero trust score, secure score, identity secure score, your user score, device risks, All those things are possible with this agentic and or AI-driven methodology. With under deploy IQ, specifically for business premium customers, we have two packages that we usually deal with. One is the baseline or foundation package, which is minimum standard for every customer they should be on if they have business premium. It covers their identity, MFA, conditional access, device compliance, and core governance. And by the way, this is, if you are onboarding with us for managed services, this is something that we are enforcing it.
Oh, good. Minimum level.
That's the minimum level.
Excellent. Love to.
You have to be.
Good.
And the other package that we have for business premium is under deploy IQ is business premium complete, we call it. What it does is this is basically it includes everything but we got in foundation, but it also has some advanced threat protection that you spoke about, DLP and all that stuff, MDR, data governance, insider race controls, and AI-ready guardrails that we implement as part of this one. And this is all agentic and automated way with human approvals. So these packages basically gives us consistency across our customer base and give the organization a clear, predictable roadmap, which is essential now if you need to be, if you want to deal with AI. And this is regardless of size of the company or industry.
Do you want us to go forward? Next slide.
Yes. Okay. What we are doing here, let me bring this into the life of a few customers.
That'd be good. Make it real.
Exigo Tech particularly?
Yes, customer examples. So what we do here. Let me share the first story of the customer, which is related to basically identity and zero trust gaps that we found. So we were onboarding a customer, and as part of onboarding, we usually perform assessment on their environment. So when we performed the assessment, we found that we identified there are several gaps in, like, for example, they have over-permissioned accounts. There is no segmentation, no break glass governance. And this is mostly people, I think they have a misconception about break glass accounts.
Yep. Identities outside of the identity system.
Yeah.
In case,
exactly.
heaven forbid that Entra goes offline, but there's ways to get into the estate.
That's the backdoor, right? That security key that you need to use it. But I think there is some misconception going on. So no break glass account is basically linked with a key that is backdoor entry.
Yeah.
But some, I think people, they have a misconception that they think this is an account that you need to create on cloud.
It's a key.
Yes, but that's a separate thing. So, yeah. So legacy authentication still enabled. The other was basically inconsistent MFA enforcement. So for example, for admins, no, they are excluded from the MFA.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then the tiering of admins too.
Yeah.
And 3-tier, 2-tier require admin. Some admins can't see data, but they can see processes, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So what we did using our deploy IQ methodology, we implemented our baseline, uplifted them, applied properly conditional access baseline, privileged identity management, break glass governance, identity lifecycle controls, and zero trust segmentation.
Very good.
Yeah. So this then it's perfectly aligned them basically with also Essential 8.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, particularly that required admin feature. Yeah, absolutely.
Some part of the Essential 8 features you are now ticking off. Yeah. The second example that I want to give you is basically more aligned with the complete package that we have. In this story, there is from what we did. There is a company which we are working with, and they were trying to do some agentic work in their environment. So what they were doing some automations, they were co-pilots, integrations, and all those things they were doing, but there were no guardrails implemented. So the usually situations what we are seeing is they had broad API permissions granted, access to the sensitive SharePoint sites.
The agents did.
The agents got the API permission had basically all this.
Without any governance and guardrails.
There was no guardrails in place. I think they just want to try to be innovative.
But in the days now that you've got as another add-on Agent 365, which gives you observability and visibility to agents, and the ability, because each agent has got an identity, an Entra identity, you've got the same permissions you're setting on the agent as you set to your users. So if that agent is performing a function in sales, why should that agent be able to see the HR data?
Exactly.
No, it shouldn't. So the agent, in the same way as the
It
people
needs to become
themselves,
guardrail.
can't see HR,
Yep.
in the same way as the legal team want to make sure that any documents they've got, so their agents are banging around inside the elements that are the guardrail to the legal team, but nobody else is able to access those agents because they don't have permission to use those
That's how
agents.
it should be. This is what when we deployed
Yeah.
our automation.
But you talk to the people about, sorry, I'm a bit off track because it's an exciting topic to me, is that people are buying Claude for work, but it doesn't have any concept of entry permissions.
Yeah.
So it's just there with holus bolus access, and they have to open up everything for it to work because it doesn't have the ability to recognize entry permissions in governance.
They're trying to fix that message and narrative.
They are.
But they don't have the tech.
They don't have it. And Microsoft is complete.
Yes.
So the agent build, the agent execution, the observability as well. And Gemini's taking it, Google's taking a different approach. They're going to have a different identity system for their agents versus what the users have. So now got two identity systems banging around. What's going on here, man?
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is basically the bigger risk we are seeing at the moment. It's not only in Australia, but it's over the global market. If you see, this is the over permission. The agents got more rights than humans
do.
This is where basically at the moment the problem was. So what we did, we uplifted them to the complete package. This is which is automated way. We mapped their data exposure. We identified the excessive permission. We applied least privileged boundaries. We implemented zero trust for AI identities and set up monitoring and guardrails, which means they can still innovate, but safely and in line with Australian regulatory expectations.
Yep. Nice.
Are you sharing some?
Well, I'm sharing now the managed services managed security as a service.
I like this.
Which is one of our key offerings for our enterprise customers because it's important to manage intelligence and security.
Well, there's a lot for a customer who's on this call to try and take on board. I mean, in the last 90 minutes, it's a lot shared. So an easy fix is they don't have to take it on board. They bring you guys in and manage security as a service specialist.
Yeah, as we mentioned, about 150, I think it's about 155 employees in the business, and most of us, if not all of us, are security focused. We're all delivering workloads in the Microsoft ecosystem, but security is our number one thing. So just some of the things that we do around managed services as a managed services offering, and I think I've only got a couple more slides left, which will. Do you have another?
I'll just do some wrap up of the industry, of course, where the industry is heading basically. So if you look at it, like what you referenced, the Microsoft latest digital defense report shows that identity remains the number one attack vector globally. And we are seeing the same pattern across Australian incidents. Secondly, if any of you are following Satya on X, recently the article that he wrote, he was basically regarding the AI, saying that very clear, AI must be built on strong identity and governance and zero trust foundation before you even think of scaling up.
Before you expose AI to your work, get the security in place first. And that can be a bit daunting to people too. They go, oh, but I want the productivity. I want the increase in quality of work. I want to save my time. Unfortunately, you've got to invest a bit of time to get saving in time. You've got to spend a little money to get that quality of work, and it is in security and governance. And I'm more into governance and protection actually than the security part of all that.
Yeah, and listen, with just that time, this is our QR code. Please scan the QR code on the left and register that you've attended the sessions, and then you will receive a free zero trust assessments where we will prove back to you all the things we just discussed. Phil, thank you very much. John, thank you very much for your investment and time.
And all the people.
Ahmed, and of course, everyone that presented, that attended as well. Thank you very much. We will see you on the next webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye now.